Well, that was exciting. Expanding into Asia, learning Mandarin. So, guys, we're almost at lunchtime, but we have one more keynote address before then, and it's an exciting one. It's a doozy. There's going to be a really cool announcement. So let's bring Ali
let them take
from
off, Sam.
Magpie on stage and get this thing going. Ali. There he is. Hey, kill it, man.
Hey guys. All right. Hey, I'm Ali. I'm the founder and CEO of Magpie Protocol, and today I'm here to talk about the art of aggregation. But first, a bit of background about myself. I got into this space in 2017 as a P2P borrower, lender, trader. That's when I actively started building in this space as well, focusing largely on decentralized exchange market makers and AI infra. About 3 years ago, me and my team members, we started working on Aggregator, just trying to solve one problem. How do we manage all of our assets across different chains? How do we move them across? How do we swap them? So before we get into what aggregation is, let's look at what problem it intends to solve. The key problem is fragmentation. So fragmentation exists in different forms: data, liquidity, within chains, across different protocols, and across chains as well. So that's what that is a complex problem to solve because different chains operate with different tech stacks, different protocols have different AMM logics, and aggregating them can be a difficult job. So there's a lot of liquidity siloed across different chains. Specifically speaking of Sonic, there's over $1 billion across 60+ protocols, and it can get challenging for a user to execute an intent. An intent could be as simple as buying an asset, buying Shadow, or depositing into a silo vault, or minting SCUSD. And it's really, with all of these different liquidity pools, it's chaos. And aggregation is the art of turning chaos into clarity. So some of the examples in Web 2 that you might be familiar with is something like Skyscanner, which is what I use to book my flights to Vienna. So Skyscanner, instead of you going to different airline websites, you can just see the best prices, see the destination, see the timings, and pick the one that you want. Google obviously indexes all of the websites across, all of the internet, and instead of us looking through different directories, you can find whatever you desire when you search. And Spotify does the same. For artists, for music, you can get music from independent artists, from music labels, all in one place in a streamable platform. Getting back into DeFi, Magpie is an aggregator that unifies liquidity across all of the chains that we support, which is over 19 EVMs and non-EVMs. The way that Magpie operates is we aggregate DEXs, bridges, lending protocols, and you input any asset that you want to trade, and we give you the output of the asset that you desire. This is a representation of how all aggregators typically work. This reflects the execution flow where an aggregator routes your transactions through different protocols, different AMMs, lending pools, and the thing that differentiates one aggregator from the other, where the true art lies, is in the design of your aggregation algorithm and the architecture in which it operates. The thing that separates us from other aggregators, where there are many, is that we've designed it in a way that allows us to scale from EVMs to non-EVMs, allows us to add support for custom AMM logics that are rather difficult to incorporate, be it because builders will keep innovating. So we started with Uni v2 AMMs, then you end up with Uni v4 hooks, or Balancer v3 hooks. We aggregate all of them, all clubs. So that's the key difference, and Magpie ends up being the best priced aggregator in the space, and don't take my word for it, you should give it a shot. We're enabling endless aggregation. Here's an example of a transaction that you could execute with Magpie. So you can move from ETH on Ethereum. Typically, if you do it manually without an aggregator, you would swap your ETH into an asset that you can bridge over to Sonic. You can bridge ETH to Sonic. Once you're there, you swap your ETH into STS, and then you deposit that into a silo vault through stake tests. With Magpie, you don't necessarily need to do all of these steps. So the choice is, you can either take a few minutes and make the walk, going through all of these options, or you can execute them in a few seconds. This applies for the end user. This applies to builders, token issuers who may want access to liquidity across different chains or within some chains as well. Getting to the token itself, Fly is a the native token of our protocol. It's going to be Sonic native, and the key idea is incentivizing trading, which drives volume, which drives fees, which is accrued back to the token stakers. Super simplistic, and one of the things that I find quite interesting is that Sonic has amassed a huge amount of TVL. However, it is the perfect chain for trading. It has sub-second finality. It has over 400,000 transactions a second, theoretically, that you could do. And so it makes it optimal for trading. And what we want to do at Magpie, not just at Sonic, but incentivizing trading, aligning incentives with traders, which will drive revenue, which will accrue back to the stakers of the token. This is interesting for token issuers. Even within this conference, I've spoken to a few different projects that are interested in us allocating incentives to drive trading volume to their token. So beyond liquidity, trading volume is also a big indicator for the health of a token. And our model, by the way, big shout out to Shadow, is derived from Shadow's X33. If you're familiar with that, it's pretty similar, but I won't dive too deep into how our token model actually operates. Here are some cool statistics. Yesterday we surpassed $1 billion in volume on Sonic, over 43,000 users. We're finally revenue generating. Aggregation, while it is a competitive business, it is something that consistently generates revenue. So it is a race to zero between different aggregators, but which is why we take pride in the way that we've sort of built our solution out, that we can scale in any directions without any third-party limitations. Furthermore, if you've never heard of Magpie, you probably have used it if you use Rabby or if you use Shadow. We're integrated into these. We're integrated into other 30-plus protocols. And yeah, so that's us. I would love to speak to any project that might be getting started on Sonic or any user that might not have heard of us. Go check us out on, well, here's one thing that I wanted to talk about. We have been called Magpie. Some of you might be hearing about us for the first time. But we're unifying our brand. We're going from Magpie to Fly. And there is, so we've just updated our web pages and everything to reflect that. And we've got a short video for you guys to see. So if you can cue the video, that'd be nice. Thank you. That's pretty much it. If you have any questions, please reach out. Fly.trade is the name. That's the website as well. Incentives on Sonic are about to get insane with Fly. There's weekly incentives for trading your favorite assets. So just keep an eye out if you've never heard of us and catch me today, tomorrow, and we can have a conversation. Thank you so much.